Hi, friends. Welcome to this session of B3 as we look at Proverbs 15 to 21. There's an awful lot of people, person verses in these Proverbs, and reminds me of the story of the little boy who told his dad, "Dad, I want to learn how to play darts. Let me throw them at the board, and you say wonderful." He was looking for some encouragement. And really, that's an awful lot of what we find here in the Proverbs. And we find that in people's hearts and souls. To be a people person, you need to learn how to encourage people and say something and get near them. And these Proverbs will lead us in that direction. We'll start with Proverbs 15, and then we'll go on to all the way to Proverbs 21. We'll try to do that in these moments together. Now, the people person verses in the Proverbs 15 are verse 1, 2, 4, 7, and 28. Verses 1 and 2 say, "The gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. The tongue of the wise makes knowledge pleasant, but the mouth of fools spouts foolishness." Verse number 4 says, "A soothing tongue is a tree of life, but perversion in it crushes the spirit." Verse number 7, "The lips of the wise spread knowledge." And that's another way of saying we communicate the gospel if we're wise. "But the hearts of fools are not so." And then in verse 28, "The heart of the righteous ponders how to answer, but the mouth of fools pours forth evil."
Yikes.
95% of customers in one study were willing to return to a store even if the store made a mistake, but handled the mistake appropriately. They handled it. And that's really good news. Now, whenever a mistake happens at a store and it's handled well, we found also, this study did, that people will tell about it. Hey, this problem developed, but they fixed it. And they were just wonderful, had a great attitude about it. And I think that's the way we ought to be with our neighbors, our family, everybody. Just very willing to take care of mistakes and not to be defensive, at all. Now, the thing is if it's not taken care of and if it creates tension and defensiveness, they'll tell 20 people about that. And it ends up hurting the reputation of the store. And the same is true for churches, the same is true for families and schools and just about anywhere that we go. Now, verse 15 in Proverbs 15 says, "All the days of the needy are bad, but a cheerful heart has a continual feast." A cheerful heart has a continual feast. Zig Ziglar used to say, your attitude determines your altitude. How far you can go, how high you can go in this life depends a lot on your attitude. And the best way to become a people person is to notice the qualities in other people that you like and then develop those for yourself. So what do you appreciate about other people and how they treat you? Well, develop those same qualities yourself. Practice the golden rule with everyone. And probably what you want is that you want people to encourage you. You want people to appreciate you. You want people to forgive you. You want them to give you some latitude. You want them to be patient with you. You want them to listen to you. You want them to understand you. And so it's really not complex and complicated becoming a people person. Just get around people and practice the golden rule. Think about what they're going through. Think about the mindset and the nervousness they may have around you. Then alleviate it with some kind words and taking the initiative. Verse 28 again says, "The heart of the righteous ponders how to answer." In other words, we think through what we're going to say. And this can make us persuasive. Did you know the word persuasive is made up of two words? Per and suasive. Per is through, and suasive is sweetness. Through sweetness, we are able to persuade others of something that is very, very important. And then in Proverbs 15:32, we've got here, "One who neglects discipline rejects himself, but one who listens to a rebuke gains understanding." If you listen, even to criticism that comes your way, it can really help. When people throw bricks at you, use them to build a foundation. Use them to build a structure of your life. A lot of times when criticism comes, there's at least a kernel of truth in it that you can benefit from. 99% of it may not be very useful, but sometimes at least 1% is, and you can do something with it. Verse 33 says, "The fear of the Lord is the instruction for wisdom, and before honor comes humility." You may not feel like you've got a lot of talent, a lot of resources. You may feel like you don't have very impressive family background. You may not feel like you've got very good health. You may not feel like you're a very smart person. You don't have to be. The effectiveness comes to those who are humble. If you can be humble, you can accomplish anything. Your attitude will determine your altitude. And I think that Zig Ziglar was right. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, I just want to say that oftentimes in the Proverbs, it is underscored that when we do not listen and we do not learn from our mistakes, we do not listen from wise counsel, we are hurting ourselves. It says it over and over in the couple of verses that you just read. You
reject yourself.
You reject yourself and you hurt yourself. And we don't want to do that. Nobody wants to do that. Mm-hmm. So we got to figure out how to build these truths into our everyday life. And the best way to do that is to pray through these Proverbs.
Yeah, that's good. Well, now, we're talking about being a people person. There's something you do for the folks at school. Why don't you tell them about that? They have a birthday, and what do you do for their birthday?
I decorate mailboxes for people's birthdays.
And where are those mailboxes?
They're in like the room where the mailbox room is.
Oh, so there's a mail room there, and each of the teachers and assistants have mailboxes in a particular room, and so you find it and you decorate it?
Right, like I do August birthday, like for example, August birthdays. And
so if they got a birthday in June and July, they're on.
No, I figured out a
you
way
figured
to.
Out
I
how
figured
to do
it
that?
out. Yeah,
Good.
they get half birthdays.
Okay.
They get like
when
we're in school, they get a half. If your birthday comes in the summer and we're not in school, then I celebrate your half birthday and make a little.
Oh, at 6 months.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I try to. I don't know. Y'all know I love the seasons, and I love all the stuff. So I put a little sticker or a ribbon or something on mailboxes.
Good. So you had an idea and you implemented it. No one had to make you do it.
No.
No one asked you to do it. Yeah. What do they say? How do they handle that?
Well, I don't really like to tell people that I'm the one that does it. It's really a secret.
It's a secret.
I don't know.
Oh,
don't tell anybody.
Don't tell anybody.
And sometimes people see me doing it, and it's every now and then I hear somebody say, "Oh, you're the one who does this," and stuff like that. But I don't. Yeah, I try to do it before school or after school, but or sometime when I feel like I can slip in there and do something. So. But that's just a little thing that I like to try to love on people at school.
Good. Now, Proverbs 16 really emphasizes the Lord's direction and guidance over our own. We've got to check our plans against the Lord's. It's okay to think through and make plans, but we've always got to filter them through His counsel. Mm-hmm. And verses 1 and 2 and 3 and 9 make that very, very clear. Verse 1, the plans of the heart belong to a person, but the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. All the ways of a person are clean in his own sight, but the Lord examines the motives. Commit your works to the Lord, and your plans will be established. And then in verse number 9, the mind of a person plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps. Now, the people person verses in this Proverbs 16 are verse 7 and 24. Verse 7, when a person's ways are pleasing to the Lord, He causes even his enemies to be at peace with him. In other words, when we please God with our ways, God intervenes. God causes some things. And He can even placate enemies in that way where they don't become a tremendous harm to us. And in verse number 24, it says, pleasant words are a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones. And I would always strongly encourage pleasant words. Proverbs 17 talks about building contentment, and the people person...
Wait, I want to talk about plans.
Yeah.
The verse that we read said, make plans. Just know that the Lord may have other plans. So when we make plans, we need to kind of hold them loosely and hold them with an open hand. And in the event that the Lord has something else for us for that day or whatever. Last weekend, I was went to Tennessee to do a baby shower for Sarah Kate and Camden, and when we were driving home, Hannah Grace came down to be in Tennessee with us, and she got stuck in really bad traffic from a really bad wreck. And I mean stuck. I mean, she has put her car in park and was texting, And so she was like, I can't believe this happened. I'm trying to get home, And one of my sisters said, I'm so grateful that you were not a minute ahead of schedule and are not, it was a 5-car wreck. It was pretty bad. Ugh. And just had a moment of just gratitude, such gratitude that the Lord prevented her from being in that wreck just by, being 1 minute or 5 minutes a little bit later. And although it cost her in time later, at least she wasn't in the wreck.
Yeah, the Lord was looking out for her. Well, that's why it's good to take our plans before God.
Yeah.
It really is. Now, in Proverbs 17, the people person verses in this proverb are verse 1, 9, 14, 17, and 22. Verse 1, it says, better is a dry morsel and quietness with it than a house full of feasting with strife. The word better here sometimes is flagged by Microsoft word processing programs as being politically incorrect. The idea from those in Seattle, where Microsoft headquarters are located, is that you can't say one thing is better than another. That's not politically correct. It means you think that your way, your thinking, your culture is superior to others. Well, the Bible does that, and I'm going to keep using the word better. I don't care what Microsoft flags. And there are some things that are better. Jesus is better than all the rest. The Christian faith is better than all the rest. Christian churches are better than all the rest. At least they should be. Most of them are. And biblical truth in the Bible are better than all the other books. And we'll have to stand on that. And if we suffer for it, so be it. Of course, we're in a day where a lot of the liberalism that arose 2009 through 2020, 24 have been really pushed back against. But, it'll come back around and we will be the scourge of society. Thing is, we cannot flag and we cannot become wimpy and weak on these things. We don't need to become brittle. We don't need to be jerks for Jesus either. But we've got to be people who stand clearly on biblical truth. And there are some things that are better than other things. And we're not going to back down on that.
That's right.
We're not going to back down on that. And so the word better overthrows modern notion that all things are equal. Verses 3 through 5 talk about punishment. And it says here, the refining pot is for silver and furnace for gold, but the Lord tests the hearts. An evildoer listens to wicked lips, and a liar pays attention to a destructive tongue. Like attracts like. Do you know why there are some people who are always hearing gossip? Because gossipers like them, and they have the same spirit as the gossiper. In other words, people that are always listening to sinful speech, there's something wrong with their heart. Like attracts like. Mm-hmm. Those who hear gossip are just like those who share it. Those who hear lies are just like those who share it. Those who hear gossip then, or those who hear lies and slander, share the responsibility in its spread. University of Indiana did a study years ago on gossip and found that if the person hearing it didn't push back on it, it would spread. But they found if they just ask a question like, I really wonder if that's the case, or how do you know that? A general question, it would usually put it at an end. And so people that listen to gossip are usually as backslidden as those who spread it. So I don't have any respect for people who are constant receptacles for gossip. There's something spiritually wrong with them, just like the gossiper, the liar, the slanderer. Verse 5 says, one who mocks the poor taunts his maker, and one who rejoices at disaster will not go unpunished. I shudder to think about the judgment day of those who rejoiced in Charlie Kirk's assassination.
Yeah.
That really concerns me. And I'm going to tell you, no
painful.
one's going to get away with that. No one gets away with that. And that's why we should not rejoice when something bad happens to our political opponents or people we don't like. We don't do that. We grieve and we sorrow because God made them and Jesus died for them, and they're very important to God.
Right.
So we don't act like them. Verse 15 reminds me about law enforcement. It says, one who justifies the wicked and one who condemns the righteous, both of them alike are an abomination to the Lord. The defund the police movement, that's what this reminds me of. That's an abomination before God. Very foolish and very dangerous for a community. And then verse 16, why is there money in the hand of a fool to buy wisdom when he has no sense? Don't ever give time to cultists. They don't want to listen. They don't want to listen, especially if they come to your door. Then verse 17, a friend loves at all time and a brother is born for adversity. Scripture places value on friendships, and we should always be increasing in them. Jesus did too. He looked at his disciples in John 15:15 and applied this verse, and he said, I no longer call you my slaves because slaves don't know what the master is doing. I call you my friends. For everything I've heard from the Father, I have made known to you. I've shared some personal information with you, and that's what it means to be a friend. So somebody has said, you never know how many friends you've got till you get a swimming pool. Then everybody becomes your friend. That's not been our experience. But the thing I want to make clear to you is that Jesus didn't start a friendship with me because I had a swimming pool. Jesus started a friendship with me because I was a cesspool of sin and iniquity. And so we even go to that extent to make friends. And that's what Jesus did for me. He came to me anyway.
Yeah. Well, I know that having friends and being relational is very, very important to the spread of the gospel.
Yeah.
And David Mills, you know what David Mills says?
What?
David Mills says, show me your friends and I will show you your future.
Yeah.
But also the opposite of that is true. The flip side of that is true. When we pull away and are only with ourselves or only with our very, very small group, that is hurtful. That hurts us. Being separated from fellow believers is an open door to unwise things.
Yeah, usually there's something spiritually wrong with someone who's isolated. They're about to experience something painful, and that's why you've got to be deeply involved in the lives of godly people and expand your circle of friends for gospel opportunities. Someone that's isolated is like logging a fire that someone removes and sets off to the side. Their fire is going to go out eventually, very quickly. Mm-hmm. But if they're up next against other burning logs, they'll catch flame, and they'll burn longer. So I think that's really important. Proverbs 18, the people person verses in this are verse 1, 13, 16, and 17. Proverbs 18 verse 1 talks about what we're talking about. One who separates himself seeks his own desire. So the person that is isolated usually is pretty selfish, is what the Proverbs are saying. May not be true in all cases, but they want their own comfort, they want their own security, they've got stuff that they want to do and they don't want anyone influencing them. One way or another, this is entirely true. One who separates himself seeks his own desire, and he'll even quarrel against all sound wisdom. And so that's spiritually a very, very difficult thing. Scripture rebukes hermits and those who isolate themselves. There is no Christian love in isolation. There is no Christian love in staying to yourself. And it's impossible to live out the primary Christian ethic in isolation. Because how can you love in isolation? Just ain't going to happen. And so we've got to be people who connect with others. Versus, you want to say something?
Well, and not everybody likes to be life of the party. Not everybody wants to be, in front of the microphone or in the spot. And that's not what we're talking about. Mm-mm. And we're not talking about the people that need a little, some extra time to reset their batteries. We're not talking about that. We're talking day after day after day, month after month after month of rejecting people's efforts to be friends. And it,
or not starting any of your own.
yes, yes. And what happens is that our brains forget that people are out there and tried to make friends with us. So now, because we're by ourselves and are isolated, the enemy's got his word in there, we say, how come nobody loves me? And how come I'm all alone? And how come that church didn't help me any? But we forget that the church did reach out to you. Yeah. People did love you. People did. And let me just say that wisdom says, teach me. I want to learn. Teach me. But pride and isolation say, I don't need it.
Yeah.
I don't need it. And we need it.
Yeah. Well, that's true. And yeah, don't hear from us that you've got to be the life of the party.
Yes, no.
I will tell you, the most effective personal soul winners I know were both introverts. Dr. Fish and Dr. Patterson. Both introverted, shy, but they're two most effective soul winners I've ever known in my life. And there's actually some advantages that shy people have. Now, you may not believe that if you're not winning souls, but it can be a really big advantage to that. I think people can trust those who are a little more introverted a little quicker than they can someone like me or you. So, verse number 8 says in Proverbs 18, the words of a gossiper are like dainty morsels, and they go down into the innermost parts of the body. A tongue that's 3 inches long can ruin a man that's 6 foot tall, and that's what this proverb is reminding us of. Verse 15 says, "The mind of the discerning acquires knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeks knowledge." We're to grow. We're to grow in love. We're to grow in being a people person. We're to grow. 2 Peter 3:18 says, in grace. Philippians 1:9, our love is to abound more and more, and that's with people. So there is the expectation of growth. Verse 16, the person's gift makes room for him and brings him before great people. Generally, you get what you reward. You reward a child for something, that child's going to repeat it. An employee, they'll repeat it. You get what you reward. And one of the best ways to become a people person is to hang around others who are people persons and then go do what they did. That's, I think, very helpful. Now, I did not come from a people person background. I was very shy to myself and withdrawn before I met Jesus, but then I met Jesus, and I learned he's got a mission in this world, and I wanted everybody to know the good news, so I had to develop that. Now, it came naturally. She just, but me, I had to learn how to do it, and she's really, really good at it. Verse 17 through 19 talks about the striving man. The first to plead his case seems right until another comes and examines him. You know, most people who enjoy juicy gossip or slander or lies, they act like verse 17 is not in the Bible. The first to plead his case seems right until another comes and examines him. That's been in the Bible for 3,500 years, and I don't understand why we don't get it. That's very confusing. A lot of people have been hurt this way. Verses 20 and 21, with the fruit of a person's mouth, his stomach will be satisfied. He'll be satisfied with the produce of his lips. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Encouraging, curious, affirming lips belong to satisfied people. Satisfied people are the ones who encourage, they ask questions because they're curious, and they affirm others. Proverbs 19 talks about integrity, and the people person Proverbs of this chapter, verses 11 and 17. And if you'll read Proverbs 19 and 20 together, and of course this coming week should read it all, Proverbs 15 to 21. I want to ask you to notice all the subjects that are covered in these Proverbs. Everything from your words to your money to your employment to your attitude, everything, your relationships, everything is covered. And just these two Proverbs. And then you take all of them and you see all the subjects that are there. It occurred to me while reading this the other day that the Lord addresses all the practical issues in our lives, and he has a right to do so. And he doesn't stutter.
No.
Now I would be hesitant to talk about your business because it's not my business. I don't want to mingle with that because it's your business. You want me to know about it, we can talk about it, but I really want to be careful about getting into your business. Honey, did you know the Lord is not careful about getting into our business?
No, and the difference
Because he's the Lord.
Yes. And another difference is that we may not know all the details to your business,
Right.
but the Lord does.
The Lord
and the
does.
Lord knows it and sees it and was
Yes.
there when it happened, and so it's a huge difference.
Proverbs 20 includes some people-person verses in verses 6 and 18. Most of this talks about the king and his rule, but look at verse number 22. It says, "Do not say, I will repay evil. Wait for the Lord, and he will save you." That includes prayer. I would encourage you that if someone's mistreating you, learn to engage in spiritual tattletelling. Do that. Go be a tattletale. Now, you shouldn't be a tattletale with your brothers and sisters, with your parents and all that. That's understandable. But when it comes to the Lord, you be a tattletale all day long. And that's the thing to do. And it's so much better and effective than getting back at people and repaying them. Proverbs 21's got a lot of people-person verses as well. Verse 9, 13, 19, 23, and verse 28. Now, verses 10 and 11 talk about deterrence to crime, and that is through punishment. Now, I want to cover some points for emphasis. One is, God is the source of wisdom. Insight into criminal justice, leadership, management, reputations, social relationships, all arise from these proverbs, and there's nothing better than the Word of God for these things. But God is also not only the source of wisdom, he's the master of priorities. The Lord alone has the right to determine our priorities. And one of those priorities has got to be people. We cannot be right with God this way vertically unless we are in love with people horizontally, and we're growing in that. We are to be people persons. Jesus' cross did not only have an upright beam, it had a horizontal beam, and that symbolizes the direction of our lives. To be Christian is to avoid those behaviors that hurt relationships, isolation, anger, gossip, and embrace those behaviors that enhance relationships, encouragement, integrity, affirmation, and the like. And so he is to be the master of our priorities. And then God is the Lord of all. He speaks to everything in our lives, and he doesn't hesitate. He's not embarrassed or hesitant to do so. He speaks to every issue in our lives because he is Lord of all. George Truett said, Jesus is either Lord of all or he's not Lord at all. Jesus is Lord of all or he is not Lord of all. Now that is a powerful statement that I've heard in many places through the years. There is some background and concern about it though, and I hate to tell you this. It's come out recently in a biography. But about the time Dr. Truett made that statement, he of course was pastor of First Baptist Dallas for 47 years. And Dallas was known or reputed to be the most racist city in America at the time. I don't know if that's true or not, but there was a lot of it. 1 out of every 3 men in Dallas were members of the Ku Klux Klan.
When? What years this is?
Before World War II. And a lot of George Truett's members and some of his deacons were members as well. And J.M. Dawson down in Waco was speaking out against it. And T.B. Maston at Southwestern started speaking out against racism in 1923 at Southwestern. In fact, he wrote, I guess, one of the most powerful books in American history on it called The Bible and Race. And sadly, George Truett was silent on it all. In fact, no black person,
Wow.
not even the black man and woman who took care of he and Mrs. Truett, could ever worship at First Baptist Church in Dallas. So the man who said Jesus is either Lord of all or not Lord of all, or not Lord at all, had some people in his church and leadership who he allowed to live outside the lordship of Jesus Christ. Now, I know it was a different day back then, but you know what? It really wasn't. We still got a Bible right here. It's as clear now and as clear back then as it is today on such issues. And so what I've got to say to you, to really be a Christian is more than the mouth catchy Christian words. It means we live in love towards other people. When we don't, it's really hard to take people seriously about their faith. It really is. So I want to say to all of our folks and all Christians everywhere, thank you for what you do. It's a positive thing. But let's go all the way with Jesus. I remember hearing about a composer who wrote a lot of masterpieces, and I forget his name now. But he had a son who was a prodigy, who was tremendous on the piano and could play his dad's compositions wonderfully. But the boy was in rebellion, and he'd carouse and drink and do all kinds of crazy things in the evenings. And one night, after the composer and his wife went to bed, the boy came home dragging in, and he sat down at the piano down on the first floor while his parents were on the second floor. And he began to play one of his dad's compositions. And he played it energetically and with everything he had, and he got to the end and did not play the last note. He knew the effect that would have had on his dad. He played everything but the last note, and then he went off to bed. And his dad was so aggravated, he came downstairs and bam, played the last note. It's aggravating not to play the last note.
Yeah.
It's aggravating not to play all the notes. Go all the way with the Word of God. Trust Him, obey Him, and leave the consequences to Him.
Yes.
And don't you dare stop short, because He's worthy.